What's up, everybody? We have a new hashtag. It's hashtag blame Jarvi. It's not my fault this week.
Agreed.
Jarvi, usually the anal one, the stickler, yelling at us when we're like 30 seconds late for going live. It was his fault this week. So
Actually, I was here 20 minutes ago. I was waiting on you guys. None of you were in backstage. If you had been here sooner, I would have figured out I had issues, and we could have gone live earlier. So
is that what
you can't blame me.
Always will blame you from now on. You are forever blamed. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Class Action. I'm your host, PLD, here on the PLD Product Network. I'm here with the one we are blaming, Mr. Richard Eric Jarvi. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing good. What's going on? It's been a minute. I don't think we've done a show for like a month. Something now.
Something like that. I have to open up my little notepad to see when we were all together last time. I think when you guys did Air versus Moneyball without me, that was pretty good. I'm pretty impressed, especially with your Ed Harris choices. I did like you did there. I did like some of Galactus's William Harold's picks a little bit as well. Ed Harris being the disembodied voice of Michael Jordan, I thought was a stroke of genius. But yes, we are here also with, of course, my Holy Snow's compatriot, Matty, my friend. How are you doing this week?
I'm here. I'm ready. I will be completely honest. I watched the D&D movie for the first time yesterday to prepare for this.
Okay.
So it was one of those movies that I was like, I'll get to it when it's on streaming.
Right.
Be honest, same with Guardians 3. Haven't watched it yet. Probably gonna watch it when it gets to streaming. But it's a good thing we're not talking about Guardians 3. We're talking about Guardians 1.
That's right. Because, quite frankly, I want to say that I know Jesse was here earlier when I posted. I posted this last night. I was ahead of schedule. That's very interesting for me. I usually do this like right before. But he was saying Guardians had him crying the whole time. That would be Guardians 3. We had this decision behind the scenes what to do. We kind of wanted to do something with Guardians 3 because it was just out, a new kind of thing. But we didn't know what to put up against. We kind of toyed around putting Guardians 3 up against Guardians 1 maybe, or Guardians 3 up against different a couple different things we had options for, but nothing really seemed to fit. I think Jarvi had the idea of doing like two disparate groups together, like we did before. We did Guardians 1 versus Suicide Squad, or something that was kind of thing, something like that. So it would be something similar. And we thought Dungeons and Dragons was pitched as kind of a similar mindset. We couldn't put Guardians 3 versus Dungeons and Dragons 1 because it seemed like such different points in the story that how could you really compare the two? I mean, you could, but this felt like, let's just go back to Guardians 1. We'll take the inception of the teams as we got the squads there and see which one we liked better with our custom-made categories, of course, because that's how we do things here on BLD Projects. 5 custom-made categories, unless I want to make something win and I give it a 6th category. But this week, I'm very okay with everything. So either way, I don't really care who wins. I have no horse in the game. I love them both. So,
there's some horses in Dungeons.
There are. I think there's some space horses.
Always going literal.
Maybe, but
you know what Judge PLD does kind of remind me of, and there's a movie that I watched the other day, and I don't mean this in the context that people are probably going to think. You kind of remind me of the judge from A Time to Kill, the first one, where Matthew McConaughey is trying to get the trial moved to a different state, and the judge is like immediately like, no, I'm not even going to hear your motion. You are like, we're having the trial here.
Someone just recommended that movie to me.
It's great. It'll rip your fucking heart out.
Movie.
But
it's a great movie. It is a.
I think it was Christo actually who recommended, because I'd never seen that before. And I know it's on Netflix at the moment.
Yes, Christo, Jarvi messed up big time. That's what happened. So don't worry about that.
I was here first.
You messed up. He had tech issues just like Ben Bateman. Yes, he was channeling the boss. But you know what, Mike, you're right too. Always going to blame Lacavetta. Jake Lacavetta is always in blame. Speaking of that, we actually had a call to action reunion last night, kind of, sort of.
I saw. I need to watch that.
You have to wait for later. Jake has put it on private for now because
son of a.
He is looking for a new job and didn't want his, shall we say, how do we put this gently? Jake's self out there. Well, at this point, so. But it was me and Jake. They had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Kind of weird. I got to laugh.
Hit me with that link.
I will. I'll definitely hit you up with that link later on. But we're back here Kelly actually made an appearance too. That's right. She made a quick appearance to put Jake in his place. That was actually kind of fun. Very fun. But if you're here for the first time on PLD Projects, if you like it, then subscribe. Let us know what you're feeling. We got a lot of stuff going on here. Class action every other week. Two different white dudes on film every other week. Myself and PJ, we're working through the Indiana Jones saga. Next week, we'll be talking Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which was my childhood favorite. I love that one quite a bit. Of course, we got a lot of different things coming up still too. We got Holy Snokes. We're gonna have an episode tomorrow. Holy Snokes, Matty, talking about the top 5 or best 5 cuts from Kevin Kiner, the John Williams heir apparent in the Star Wars universe, done all the animated shows, wonderful musician, wonderful orchestrations, to be followed up next week by our favorite John Williams cuts in the Star Wars universe. So it's going to be a ton of fun. And that's not even talking about Crown Jewels.
Fun?
Harris.
You call that fun?
Oh,
you giving me 5 John Williams cues to pick, and you think that's going to be fun for me?
Bloodbath. I can't wait for it.
It's no Hans Zimmer.
I can't wait for it. There you go. No, Hans Zimmer. You can go miss me with that one. Yes, that's my son. My son is a huge Kevin Kiner fan. What's up, Ty? Good to see you. He's a big. He's going to tell me his Kevin Kiner. I'll get his top 5. And I'll slide it in there in the show at some point. So we're actually watching Rebels today. After the show is done, we've been watching Star Wars Rebels, the two of us, back and forth. He hasn't seen it before. I'm getting through it the first time. Today is a big day. We can't spoiler something. There's some big things happening, though. We're in season 4. Getting up towards the end. It's going to be fun. Some fun moments today. We're about halfway through, so we're getting there.
Did you guys watch Visions?
No, that's actually, I watched Visions. We watched Visions for the Holy Snokes. Actually, me and Matty did a broadcast. We watched Visions season 1 and we watched Visions season 2. After we're done with Rebels, Tyler and I are going to watch Visions together. Also, love Visions.
Good stuff there.
Yes. Ahsoka's theme is very sweet there. I do love Ahsoka's theme. But okay, that's all that's going on in the channel. Now let's talk about this very show. Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 1. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. Now we have 5 custom-made categories. We're going to put these two up against each other to see which one walks away or dances away, as would probably be more apt for these two, as winners with the loot, so to speak.
Or sings away.
1, better crew. Which one is our better team? 2, a better villain, which is an interesting conversation to have when it comes to these films, because there's like villains and there's like kind of half villains. And is that a villain? I don't know. 3, better mission/story. 4, better music. And 5, in this case, better humor. I'm very interested to see where we go with these, because quite frankly, I think they both have there's great things about both these movies and all these categories. And it's kind of hard for me to judge. Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously a mainstay, whereas Dungeons and Dragons kind of more of a surprise hit out of nowhere for me. So we'll have to see. But before we get to that, we have to do something we always do on this channel. We've graduated a little bit now. It's not just Ed Harris, but we are going to play the recast game. I'm going to bring up a wheel onto the screen.
Oh, wow. We have a wheel this week.
We do. I came up with a wheel.
I like it.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. We're going to spin that wheel. And
It's been a while. Huh?
It's been a while. We are going to recast the actors that we get on the wheel into each movie. One for Guardians and one's for Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. So without further ado, let's get that wheel on the board here. Let's see. That's not what I want to do.
What do we got there?
We have on this deal Ed Harris,
Donnie Yen,
Jonathan Groff, Keith David, Viola Davis, Margot Robbie, Donnie Yen, Keanu Reeves, and Zoe Saldana. Well, I know
Zoe Saldana.
She's actually in Guardians, so that might not be a good choice to make. Maybe I should change that one. Change that one to somebody. Probably change it to somebody else. Kind of like the last one I just threw in there. Let's change that to give me an actress's name. Any actress, throw it in there. First thing comes to your mind.
Angela Bassett. I know we had her. No way. We gotta think of someone new though. We already
Florence
done
Pugh.
her.
Florence Pugh. Okay, that's fine. We'll do that then. Florence Pugh. There you go. Bingo.
Viola Davis.
So there we go. Let's see what we got. We're gonna spin it right now. I had to do Donnie Yen for you guys, for Matty and for Kelly, and I knew you guys would love that. So here, let me take this banner off because we're actually going through there. All right, let's do it up. Clicking to spin. Who are we doing? For Guardians. Quickly. Oh, come on.
Oh my God, you've rigged the wheel.
Son of
I don't rig anything. I just spin, my friends. I just spin. So, all right, let us put Ed Harris into Guardians of the Galaxy, the original. Matty, I'll let you go first.
Ed Harris in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Now, remember, we can recast.
Okay,
or we
I'm
can
going with the
create a new
recast.
character, or you
I'm
can
going
create
with
a new
I'm
character.
going with the recast.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This one hurts because I love Michael Rooker.
It is kind
Ed
of the
Harris.
obvious choice.
Ed Harris is Yondu.
He's Mary Poppins, y'all.
It is kind of the obvious choice. I mean, it's obvious the first thing you think of that he's the older gentleman who could be Quill's father figure. He'd be a little more intense than Michael Rooker, I think. But no. Hey,
Mike, I love you. Fuck that wheel spin.
you know, Mike, you can tell me in person when you see me in August. And Kelly does not rig. It is not rigged. Tig Notaro, actually, we could actually put Tig in. I'll put Tig on the next wheel, maybe. All right, we'll go with that. Jarvi, do you have one you want to do? Are you going to be chintzy and write somebody new, or are you going to try to replace somebody? What are you going to do?
I've got one.
Okay.
I'm gonna create a new role, and I'm gonna make Groot a brother with Ed Harris's voice, and he's just yelling, "I am Groot," always yelling.
No, his name is Groot and Up Here. I'm up here. And there's our younger brother. You're down there.
I hate you so much.
Hey, Ed is Groot. I get that, Ty. I get that. I get that.
He's a Groot. He's another Groot.
Another Groot. I like that too.
I'm up here. I hate you so much.
You love me and you know it. All right, that's up to me then. Who am I going to put Ed Harris in the role? I could replace Chris Pratt easily because Ed Harris could lead this movie, no doubt. But I won't. I'll keep Chris Pratt in the dance-off role. But you've seen Ed Harris's moves in Creepshow, so he could definitely do that dance-off and whoop Chris Pratt's ass.
He's no Kevin Bacon in Footloose.
Oh, he's better than Kevin Bacon.
Wait, Matty, have you seen Creepshow?
Have you seen Creepshow?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! I just wanted to throw PLD under the bus because making another reference that no one understands, but you've seen the movie, so I'm fucked here.
Ed Harris as Howard the Duck, Reefism says. Of course, Reefism, that's a good call. And Gamora's new green boyfriend. That's fair.
My little green friend.
My little green friend. I am going to put Ed Harris in. Yes, I'm going to do it. Fuck it. One of the weaker links to me, and this is not, I don't think this is his fault. It's not Lee Pace's fault.
I knew you were going there.
Even Ed Harris Ronan the Accuser. Because if he's going to make that bad, he would make that even further badass. I love Lee Pace generally, but in this movie, he kind of is. It's not quite as good as it could be. So why not fill it with a person like Ed Harris who's going to make any movie he's in better?
Wait! Both of y'all made Ed Harris blue.
That's true.
And I made him brown.
That's true. Which always aliens. What's going on there? Ed Harris is the guy with the leg rocket once. Mike, that's actually could be brilliant. That actually could be brilliant.
I like that.
And then my son actually goes along with me as Ronan would be funny specifically because of how hilariously unfitting that would be, I think. Oh, come on. Ed would be great in that. Ed would be fitting in that role. Montyverse saying, love the new D&D movie, doesn't compare to Guardians. Well, we'll get there, Monty.
Yeah, it's all about the categories.
It's always about the categories. We've said it before. There's times we love the movie, one movie over the other one, and the other one has won due to categories. All right, those are the three for Ed Harris recasting. Let's do the list again and see if we can spin somebody else, or is the real
I swear to God, if Ed Harris comes up,
or if it's truly rigged.
I quit.
Yes.
Oh, Keith David. That's a good. We haven't had Keith David on the board yet. Keith David is the one we're going to throw in Dungeons and Dragons. Ooh, that's a good one. I love me some Keith David. We're going to put him now.
That's tough.
That is.
It is.
That is tough. I think I got one. I think I'm going to go with.
Can I use a phone a friend and call Sean Sullivan in here?
Yes, you may. I'll let you do that. That's fine. But I'm not going to need him because I'm going to replace a cameo of sorts in there. I'm going to say bye Bradley Cooper.
Oh,
and put Keith David in as Michelle Rodriguez Holga's miniature husband, because Keith David is so big and such a giant, like larger than life kind of guy. To see him as the halfling would make me laugh. It'd be fitting for the role. Give me that role at any time. So that's what I'm going to do with that one. Keith David,
a miniature husband. That is a weird sentence to say, but this movie makes it funny.
Marleman is the character name, so Keith David is my new Marleman.
I think I got one actually.
Okay.
I would replace him as the Thayan guy. God, I can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, Zinc.
Regé-Jean
Page. That's an awesome role.
Oh yeah.
I would put Keith David in that role.
Yeah, you know what? That's pretty fucking strong. That's a good point. I like that one. He's very powerful. He's very. We have much different performance, obviously, because Ray Jane is so much younger. But I like what Keith David could do. Give it to me. All right, Jarvi, it's up to you.
Yeah, I'm gonna put Keith David as Jonathan. Because he again, for the same reasons you PLD put him as the miniature husband, because he's such has a presence and the voice. He's got such a thundering voice. To have him as Jonathan, who gets stepped on in both scenes that he's in,
playing against the type. I love it.
Jonathan.
All right, nice, very nice. All right, then that's the recast for today. Let's move on to the meat and potatoes of the show, as we like to say. We're going to go on to the trial as we go. And again, I said the category is better crew, better villain, better mission and story, better music, better humor. We'll start first. Better crew. Jarvi, I'm counting on you to lead us off.
Yeah, this was tough as shit. This was by far the toughest category. I feel like both movies are so similar with when it comes to crews. Both got great Chris's. Both got great strong female leads. You got a mage. Wait, is there a mage in Guardians? No, there's not.
No,
but both like ragtag teams, both criminals banding together. Both movies have really tragic backstories to their characters, so I don't know. To me, they just canceled each other out as I went forward, and I think I am going to have to just a little bit edges it out towards Guardians for me, because I feel like Guardians, and I know it's kind of an unfair argument because Guardians has been out longer. I think I'd have harder time trying to recast the Guardians, or even when it comes to Star-Lord. I love what Chris Pine did with Etkin, but I've seen Chris Pine do that before. Chris Pratt kind of had that was his up and coming role when he came to apart from TV. So that was like his first leading man kind of thing. And he freaking nailed it. So I think because of that, I got to give it to Guardians, but it's so damn close. I mean, I love both crews. I try to think which I'd rather go on a mission with. They both cancel each other out. They're so similar in that sense. So it's so tough. But I got to go with Guardians.
I get what you're saying, and then I agree with you. That's a bunch. I'd mark that down for you. My problem that I had when I did this the whole time was one of the reasons I had a hard time with this entire escapade here, is because it's tough making sure that I don't count anything from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 or Volume 3. This is just the first film, just the introductory chore. So I gotta remember, it's tough sometimes to remember that Mantis isn't even in the Guardians. If you ask me if there's a mage, and then is there a mage in Guardians? I'm like, well, Mantis kind of is, but she's not in the first film even. And she's kind of like, I mean, she's a telepath, but it's like mage-like, I guess you would say. The closest thing they had to a mage character. But she's not even in the first one, so you can't even argue that at this point. So it's hard doing that. It's also hard knowing they have Guardians have a great history, lore. I knew Star-Lord, I knew Gamora, I knew Drax even before the movie because I read the comic books growing up. So that's also tough I've already had a background with them. And yes, Monty, it is Chris Pratt, the voice of New York Italian icon Mario Monty. He does that very well. But so it was hard to do that, but at the same time, I can't deny that the team does have more depth than the Dungeons crew does. The Dungeons crew is a solid team. It's very much a Guardians-like team, and I think a franchise, I might be able to grow into them quite a bit. But the first film, you have Chris Pine, who does a great. I think Chris Pine and Chris Pratt really kind of cancel each other out. Although Chris Pine, I agree, is still doing very Chris Pine-ish stuff. I mean, Chris Pratt is doing Chris Pratt-ish stuff too. You're not gonna cancel.
It is.
Kind of like similar that way. Michelle Rodriguez and Zoe Saldana kind of cancel each other out because Michelle Rodriguez actually does a really fine job. I didn't expect much from Michelle. I'm not a huge Michelle Rodriguez fan overall, but she really did a good job here. And then when you get past that, the characters start getting a little more nebulous. Regina is good. Do you like Justice Smith has great moments. Sophia Lillis is Doric. Great moments, but they don't seem as realized as like the intensity that like Rocket Raccoon has or that Drax has. It just seems a little different, or Groot for that matter. A tree that says "I am Groot" still feels like it's a little more depth than some of the other characters. So I feel like the Dungeons and Dragons crew has a great solid foundation and could get to that level at some day. But Guardians hit the ground running, and whether or not I can fully disenfranchise them for the rest, Guardians is the better solid team overall.
Do you consider Zenk part of the crew? He kind of was, but he disappeared halfway through. But it was so enjoyable, the parts that he was in.
Yeah, that's kind of tough to say. You know what I'm saying? That's a kind of interesting, like, yes, Tyler. Nebulous.
That was.
My dad is showing. And did I mean intentionally as a pun? Yes, of course. I always mean my puns intentionally.
Wait, you didn't actually?
I didn't actually.
Really? Well, that was a great one, though.
I know. I'm so good. I do it without even thinking about it. But yeah, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to put the Guardians myself. Although I do want to pitch that if given another chance for a sequel, I think we could absolutely get some higher marks out of Dungeons and Dragons crew. Matty, how about you? 3 for 3?
This one, I think for me was easier than it was for you guys. Okay. I feel like because the Guardians didn't like really know each other at the start, whereas we got a backstory with particularly Elgin and Holger, and like they'd been on missions before, like they had backstory. They had a backstory all with each other with Simon. Yeah, right. They picked up a couple of new people along the way, but I still feel like even with that, the Dungeons and Dragons crew was still a sum of its parts. Whereas the Guardians crew really became a crew at the end. If I'm looking at crews, like I use the Ocean's 11 crew as an example, like everyone plays their part.
Right.
But they all work as one cohesive unit.
Okay.
I feel like maybe it's just because I've only watched it the one time. I feel like the D&D crew, the story still remained mostly about Elgin and Edgin and Holger's relationship. Like that was the main arc of the overall team. And I feel like Simon had a really interesting story that kind of got pushed to the back a bit. And I understand that with like 2.5 hours, like there's only so much story you can tell, especially in a world as massive as Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, we're talking about a game franchise that's been around for possibly longer than I've even been alive. There's so much lore and storytelling to tell. To fit it into a 2.5 hour movie, it's a near impossible task. But I feel like the Guardians did it better and stuck the landing a lot more than Dungeons and Dragons did in this case.
Okay.
But again, we don't know how D&D is going to go on as a franchise. It could move on to another movie where they expand on Simon a little bit more.
Right. That makes sense. I mean, I will say that one thing, and I guess I'll probably get into this a little bit more when it comes to mission and story. But Matty actually says, real talk, D&D was a blast, but I felt more emotion in the opening minutes of Guardians than I did the entirety of Honor Among Thieves. It's actually a statement that makes true with the crew itself, too, in terms of I think Guardians as a whole generally handled the comedy, serious parts better, like more like you had those moments where it was more, the characters felt more real because they had more real moments. Dungeons and Dragons had some of those real moments, but it wasn't quite done as competently as Gunn did. I think competently is actually better. Gunn is a master at that kind of cinema. Guys who did Dungeons and Dragons, who I love, by the way, I love the director that's involved. I love Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley. Game Night's one of my favorite movies of the late.
Oh my
2010s.
God, he died.
Love that movie so much. I love it. I can't wait to see more from these guys. I hope they do something more further, and I hope actually they get another D&D too. I think they could actually get better with this kind of movie as we go along. But as it stands right now, I give it to Guardians as well. Sean Wingblade just getting here. Nice to see you here in the chat, bud. Just got here. I don't understand why we're making our favorite children fight each other. I'm jumping back to the beginning. Yeah, because we have to. That's what it is. We have to do it. That's what we do, my friend. That's what we do here. We make it evil on each other.
Sometimes you gotta smash your kids' heads together to put them in line.
Let's see what happens. Let's see which one. It's called. Was it not evolution? It's survival of the fittest. So.
Natural selection.
Natural selection. That's the word I was going for. Thanks. All right. Well, then we got that. We're down with better crew. Let's go to better villain. This is a harder one for me. And this is the reason why I'll start this one off, if you don't mind. The problem is who is the villain and who counts as a villain? Like, obviously, both films have villains in terms of in Guardians, you got Ronan. And Dungeons & Dragons, you have the Red Witch or the Red
Sophina.
Sophina. She's like the main bad guy per se. But Guardians also has Yondu as an antagonist throughout a lot of the film, especially again, just this film. Obviously, we get more from him in 2 and 3, or in 2 rather than Memories in 3. But in this one, he's definitely more of an antagonist side. Dungeons & Dragons, though. We got Hugh Grant as Forge, as a former member of the crew, the con artist, the betrayer, and that's why I almost hate to do it. I'm going to lean toward D&D because Hugh Grant's character made me laugh the entire time. Ronan the Accuser was kind of a boring villain to me comparatively. I mean, so is the Red Witch. The Red Witch is kind of a boring character. She's kind of more of an archetype than anything else. Doesn't have any real personality. So it really comes down to Hugh Grant versus Yondu. And I enjoyed the helplessness of Hugh Grant more. Like, he's like the guy that shouldn't be able to win, but yet still finds a way because he lucks out into things. And I think part of it might be, again, my fault for having a hard time disenfranchising it, but I it's hard to look at Michael Rooker as a bad guy overall because we know what's going to happen. We know how that relationship is going to go overall. It's hard to look at him as an overall bad guy. So I'm going to lean towards D&D and give it to Hugh Grant over that because he made me laugh. I think he was perfectly cast in this role. Like, there's no one who could have played this role with quite the same aplomb as you would. Like, he kind of believe him with the crew. When you see him afterwards, you're like, this guy's a fucking asshole, and I'm here for it. So I'm gonna go with Dungeons & Dragons on this one.
I will expand on that.
Okay.
I was reading an interview with Hugh Grant, which, by the way, I love that his last few roles, like, it seems ever since The Gentleman, Hugh Grant has just been taking roles where he's just having the time of his life. And like, you even go back to, what was it, the Oscars or the Met Gala, where he was on the red carpet, and they were like, "What are you wearing today?" "My suit."
Yeah.
Who do you hope wins? I don't care. So it's like, it seems like he's just taking these roles just to have fun, and I love that for him. I read an interview with him. He channeled a lot of our former Prime Minister Boris Johnson into this role, and I think that now is like, okay, I see why I thought his character in D&D was such a big piece of shit. Because you have this guy who gets by solely on his charisma, and like, he's lying, but he's still gonna like pretend that he thinks he's convincing you, that he's like, he thinks he is this silver-tongued devil, when it's like, dude, we know you're lying. We know you're full of shit, but keep spinning that yarn anyway because it's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I and like the grandioseness of it, and it's just like, dude, you're a con man. Essentially, like, you have nothing. And that bit at the end where he looks through the portal and he sees like it was so satisfying, just like all the treasure falling out of a balloon with his face on it.
Right.
I love that. I love that moment.
That was pretty good. All right, Jarvi, what do you?
Let me expand. So,
we're all here. All right.
What Matty was saying about Forge, I'm gonna just add that while he was the biggest shit weasel slash villain slash antagonist, he did have that sort of redeeming side to him as well, because he really did care for Kira, I think what the girl's name was.
Yeah.
In that sense, he actually did try to give her a good life, tried to take care of her. Yes, his motivations were kind of fucked up, but
Right.
like the means, I mean, but the motivation was good.
Absolutely.
So in that sense, he was redeemable, but and I don't consider Yondu as the secondary villain of Guardians. I think it's Korath, Jamon Hansu. I think this guy, because Yondu to me still feels like he's kind of a good. Even in the first one, he does let Quill go when they capture him.
Right.
So what I did, I put Hugh Grant and Daisy Head as the villains against Lee Pace and Jamon Hansu.
Okay.
But I think it's easily Dungeons. Yes, Lee Pace as Ronan. I mean, he doesn't really get to do any of his Lee Paciness. Like, he's just blue and has to be menacing, very uncharismatic, very like blocky. Forge was amusing, charismatic. I mean, goofy, over the top, but yes,
Right.
he was enjoying the shit out of every moment he was in.
That's fair. That's fair. All right. Interesting enough. Wow. Okay. Interesting turn of events so far. And how will this end? You got to stay tuned to find out. All right. Better mission / story. This is one I definitely don't want to lead. So I'm going to let Matty lead this one off.
I'm actually going to give this to D&D.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's hear it.
Not by much, but I really enjoyed okay, we're just making this shit up as we go along.
Mhm.
Like the what was the stick called? The portal stick?
Oh yeah, the
hither wither they stick or something like that.
Hitherto wither, yeah.
Hitherto witherto stick or something like that. It was just like, okay, this feels like if I was playing a game of Dungeons and Dragons and someone just pulled out like hey, I've got this spell to cast just out of nowhere, and you're like, huh, okay. That feels like something that would happen if we were playing this game.
That's a great point. Go ahead.
And I was like, that actually kind of sticks to more of what this is supposed to be. Because we've had all these video game adaptations, right? And a lot of them haven't seemed to work for the most part.
Right.
We haven't seen many board game adaptations. And this felt to me like I was watching a group of people play D&D, but on the screen.
That's a fair point.
Add to that, I love the Chris Pine being the scoundrel, but also sticking it to the Star Wars of it all. He's the scoundrel with a code. He's Han Solo.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there. I can see that.
Like, he gets pulled back into, like, obviously he doesn't become a Harper again, but it's the, he gets pulled back into it. It's Han Solo getting, pulled back into the rebellion.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
He tries to push away and he's like, no, this is all for me. This is all for me. But when the chips are down and he's got to, think of other people, he does. Yeah. He's that kind of guy deep down.
That's fair. That is fair, man. All right, we got one for D&D. Jarvi, what are you going to say about the story?
2 for D&D.
2 for D&D.
Yeah, this is the 2 for D&D. This was very close, very tough category, but to me, I think both are on par with the mission that they go to. It's very like video game, like they pretty much go through levels to get a thing, to get the other thing, to get to the final thing, to save the world, pretty much. So very similar. We get the backstories again for all of the characters. But D&D did something with the story, and I'm going to kind of go on the side of the atmosphere as well, because I think Dungeons & Dragons had this 80s Willow-esque adventure feel to it.
Yeah.
Like the epic landscape sort of felt campy, but kind of familiar, which I definitely
If Warwick
loved.
Davis showed up, I would not have been surprised.
Oh, he would have been a perfect fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
But and another reason why I'm giving it to D&D is I think the heist when they're going to the arena is really fucking smart. Like the way they put the hitherto, whatever the shit thing is called, on a freaking on a painting,
Table painting
and
thing.
they
Yeah,
and they
painting,
put it
yeah.
on the wagon and they smuggle it in. I mean, that's actually like really smart
Ocean's
writing
Love.
right there.
Ocean's Love the
Yeah,
South. There you
it's
go.
really smart. And the stick thing kind of reminded me another item, helm of dysfunction or disjunction or something. What was
Right.
it called? But so yeah, I think because of the cleverness and the '80s feel of it, I'm going with Dungeons and Dragons.
Damn. I thought I had this sewed up in my head, but you're making me rethink. I'm not gonna lie, you're definitely making me rethink. I had initially had this as Guardians. The reason being I thought the Guardians felt more real to a degree. Not real isn't the right word, I guess. It felt more the emotions felt a little more real, like consistently.
Grounded.
Grounded a little bit better. It's just funny you say that about Guardians Galaxy.
It is.
But it does have more of a grounded feel, comparatively speaking. Let's see. They do have. I mean, Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez do have some very grounded moments, though. Obviously, towards the end, especially when Chris Pine makes his little sacrifice, his big sacrifice, so to speak, with the whole story is going after her, trying to get his wife back, and then he chooses to save Michelle at the end. Spoiler alert! If you were watching,
tearjerker.
There's a tearjerking moment, but I feel like that happens for them, and the other characters are kind of like given the we're not going to do much. Whereas Guardians kind of like I felt like we got more out of the whole team story wise for everybody. I feel like it was more fair that we had a complete story for every member of the team, and it had this moment of the team getting together, becoming the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's always a solid trope. Having this group of characters come together, learn about them. Nobody have being a weak link in terms of storyline goes. Nobody's a second thought. They all have their important moments, and at the end they come together and form this badass team. With the moment, considering the tears you get from Chris Pratt beginning to where we are now, I'm still going to give the edge to Guardians just a smidge. The 80s vibe did almost sell me because it does have that beautiful 80s vibe. And I play D&D myself, so those damn names for the different things exactly would have come out of my playbook. I would name these things this way. I think I mentioned this at one point, maybe during Holy Snow. So I used to play a Star Wars version of Dungeons and Dragons, the Star Wars role-playing game, similar situation. And I was a Han Solo-like character, and my DM had a bounty hunter chasing me. My bounty hunter, my arch nemesis, was Bob the Feet. Not to be confused.
What was it called?
It was Bob the Feet, not to be confused with his cousin Boba Fett. He was a less successful bounty hunter, just like I was a less successful Han Solo.
If you go to Celebration Japan, I need you to cosplay as Bob the Feet.
I'll have to talk to my friend Matt Stanley, who was my DM back in the day. He created the character. I'll have to find out exactly what he looked like again. But absolutely, I'll just have to sing Bob the Feet. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. I love that about D&D. It does stay true to that kind of feel, that kind of vibe. But overall, I'm going to give the slight edge to Guardians of the Galaxy. So there we are. There we go. Yes, Bob the Feet. Next up, we have better music.
I know I started the last category, but can I start this one?
Sure.
Guardians, hands down, solely because Moon Age Daydream by David Bowie. End of discussion.
All right, I'll. You know what? This is gonna be a short talk. I think I'm gonna add on real quick.
You can mark it off. You can mark it down.
Like I don't know what. Like I don't remember D&D's music, to be honest. Comparatively speaking, I mean, they had the one song with them, which is kind of cool, but comparatively, I mean, James Gunn is a master at the needle drop.
Him and Zach Braff are probably my 1 and 2.
They curate these songs specifically for these movies. The only thing I ever had a problem with James Gunn is over the Guardians. Of course, the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies. He couldn't give me one Queen song in there somewhere. He couldn't give me one Queen song. That's the only regret I have, because otherwise he just hits note perfect. He makes music that I even hate to say that music doesn't matter, but there's music songs that I wouldn't even think of, and they get new meaning when you play it with the movie, and that's
Ain't No Mountain Higher.
Oh my God, so beautiful. Oh my God. Let me tell you, I know we're talking Guardians 1. I'll say it though, this one. Like I've never I'm a little older, so I'm not the Paramore guy. Paramore came a little bit after me. They were like a little bit after my time. But like I love Dog Days Afternoon. Like now, like holy shit. Like that hit me in a whole new way after watching Guardians 3. So yeah, that's exactly what it does. This is what Gunn does. So I am also going to go for Guardians, and that's Jarvi. You're agreeing with us. It seemed like
On 100%. And what Guardians did to those songs is also pretty impressive because they're all big hits from their time. But now when I listen to any one of these songs, I immediately think of Guardians, even though they're like epic songs.
Right.
Even Michael Jackson's was it I Want You Back?
Mm-hmm.
Like that, if that comes on, first thing Groot dancing pops in my head. Like these songs are legendary, but Guardians has put its stamp on all of these songs. And to add on top of that, Tyler Bates' score is really fucking good in that one. Like he's just, it is an Avengers level theme that's in that movie. I love it.
I want a score done by Trent Reznor and Tyler Bates so fucking bad, because obviously Tyler Bates is known for working with Marilyn Manson, obviously Trent from Nine Inch Nails. But the thing that I love so much about Guardians is like all three of us grew up in an era where movies would have soundtracks with songs on them.
Right.
And I feel like that kind of went away for a little bit. And then Guardians brought it back.
Agreed.
Like Guardians made needle drops cool again.
I love scores. I'm a big score guy, but I like when you have needle drops in soundtrack, they can be so memorable. I mean, Bohemian Rhapsody and Wayne's World, the whole Crow soundtrack, those moments, like Kingsman did it a little bit too when they brought Leonard Skinner to the church sequence, that kind of thing. Those kind of moments matter. It's a great way, and Guardians has done that for 3 movies and just been like so spot on. It's like it's much more difficult than you think it is. Just you got to pick the right song, put it the right way, have the characters interact with it the right way or whatever. It's not as easy as it looks, but he is a master at it. And yes, it is Jackson 5. It's true.
It was. I apologize.
I mean, Michael Jackson
he doesn't know Michael Jackson. What is he doing?
He was part of the Jackson 5, so I get where it's coming from. But like most of my early music taste came from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater soundtracks and 2000s teen movie soundtracks like American Pie. Need for Speed is another one. But American Pie, Van Wilder, like Not Another Teen Movie. Like all I imagine is like some kid hearing a song from one of the Guardians movies and be like, "Oh, that's cool. I want to go back and I want to like go find that on Spotify and like add it to a playlist." I'm just
absolutely.
There needs to be more of that.
Make their own Zune playlist, so to speak.
But Dungeons and Dragons didn't have a bad score at all. It fit to the movie very well. I just can't remember anything about it, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It wasn't a bad score, but just right. That's how it is. Because we didn't mention Dungeons at all. It was a good fantasy score.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just gets overshadowed by Guardians in a major way.
And putting anything up against David Bowie, sorry, you're probably going to lose.
That's very true too. Anytime Bowie's mentioned, like, I mean, Bowie's just my second, like, he's right up there with Queen for me. So put Bowie in there and I'm good to go. So, all right, we're on our final category. We'll just maybe this might be the deciding factor here, and what a deciding factor it is. Matty gonna pick this category when we're kind of hemming and hawing between which one are we going to do? It's going to be our 5th category. We mentioned, I think, action at one point. We mentioned better. What was it? Everyone chose. We had some other ideas. But then we
had like the start of a franchise.
Oh, start of a franchise.
Or world building, I think, was in there.
Lore building. That's right. World building, lore building. And Matty coming goes, no, let's just do humor. Let's see which ones makes us laugh more. It makes sense.
Let's end with some laughs. And plus, as I said, like, we don't know how the D&D movie verse is going to go. We know how Guardians goes and how Guardians ends. So it's kind of easier to look at the world building and what Guardians becomes. Whereas D&D, it's kind of harder because we don't know. So let's end with some laughs.
Before we do, though, I got Dom because we're in the chat here. Actually, I remember, love Dom. That's a good dude. Was there a song in the Guardians movies you didn't use that you wish they had? Like Space Age love song that's covered.
Well, you answered that one already.
I did kind of. I did say a Queen song. I didn't say
which song.
That's what I'm going to say. Which one do I want to see used? I'd probably lean. I don't want. Like, part of me wants to go deeper cut. Like my initial thing, I can go Under Pressure because it's Queen and Bowie together. I love that. I think they could make that work. But if I want to go a little more deep cut, I still do something dancey. I think I'm going to do something like a Dragon Attack or something like that. They could use kind of a funky battle, things like that. Or you go a little more campier style. Maybe have them covering, doing something like a a killer queen, something in the background, like at a crazy bar or something. I think that could be well played as well. But I'm going to go with the Queen song either way. So what about you?
The Christmas special would have worked with the Christmas album.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. That's very true.
You know what one I'd go with?
What was that? What would that be?
Billy Idol's "You Spin Me Right Around."
Oh, that would work. That would absolutely work as part of it. Absolutely would work. Absolutely could. I could see that in any one of those, and you would love it. Kelly W. Their bicycle race. That's another good one that actually would probably work very well. Bicycle race could be used very well there.
Or maybe something. If I'm going like super low cut, if I'm going super deep cut, maybe something by like Adamant.
That'd be good too. That'd be kind of cool.
Or Who Let the Dogs Out?
Yeah, Who Let the Dogs Out?
Because your dog was barking.
Yeah, like that. Duran, early Duran could be kind of like Hungry Like the Wolf kind of thing. Would be kind of
Wild
cool,
Boys.
Wild Boys. Yeah, I like that. A lot of things we could do that way. We could do a lot of 80s like synth artists could be used very well in that case. I think so. I'd go with a lot of those. That'd be good. James Gunn would go with Russian Roulette by Lord to the New Church. That's right, because he did try to get that, but couldn't get it to the legal issue. I remember reading about that, actually. I didn't remember reading about that. He was very upset about that. But all right. Are we ready to go to better humor then?
Let's do it.
Yeah,
all right. Go ahead, Jarvi. Why don't you lead this one off?
Different kinds of humor in these movies. I think Dungeons has a more campy and simple humor that was really well placed, worked well with the movie. I love the freaking grave scene when they resurrected the corpse, asked the 5 questions, fucked it up the first few times. I mean, just hilarious, and the way they ended on it. But Guardians has James Gunn type of humor. I mean, it's not just haha funny. It gets dark, it gets weird, it gets quirky, and I love that his humor, like the joke comes back. It gets paid off at some point. Like he starts something, and it gets like the way Peter Quill started calling himself Star-Lord. Right. None of the people called him Star-Lord. Eventually, Korath comes like Star-Lord, and he's finally like such a perfect joke, such a perfect moment. I think it's easily Guardians, even though I laughed so much at Dungeons. It's the James Gunn humor that just takes it away.
All right, so we go a little bit one for Guardians of the Galaxy. Matty, my friend, what about you?
Mine is definitely Guardians, mostly off the back of Dave Bautista as Drax. You look at Dave Bautista, like what a hell of an actor like he's turned into. Like not only can he like be big, imposing, like do all the action stuff, he's got really good dramatic chops, but like saying stupid lines like "Don't ever call me a thesaurus." I'm like, I don't even know what that means, but it's hilarious as shit. And just how like beautifully dumb Drax is. It's just there's a certain charm to it that you just can't ignore. So I'm going with Guardians solely based off of Dave Bautista.
All right. It's down to myself then. But first, Reefus wants to know what's everyone's introduction to D&D. Mine was watching the Saturday morning cartoon. I didn't know it was a board game until I was in high school. I mean, it's not even a board game per se. It's a role-playing
game.
Not really. I mean, I guess I understand that though. As for me, I did love the Saturday morning cartoon. I did love that one quite a bit. But I was actually introduced very young to the books, to Dragonlance. I love that. I actually played I was playing at a younger age. Like I had friends who always wanted to play, not necessarily Dungeons and Dragons, but role-playing games in general. I guess at Star Wars or stuff like that. I got introduced almost right away. And I was an actor growing up. I loved being an actor. So this was like acting to me. I got to play a part. I got to create a character, then play a part, which was basically part of what I did. And then I got to play like a guardian or like a dwarf guardian who drank like that's just right up my alley. I loved it.
I want to hear about those characters.
I actually had my later years, like when I was like 19 or 20, I had a dwarf character called Stout Guinness. That was his name. Just drank a lot, and he had two elven lady valets who like sat with him. And I had this like one time where my friend like started trying to like like, I got this. I'm this badass mother, and I could do all this stuff. I got all these powers, and he's like trying to like show how powerful he was using spells. And so I have my characters go, yeah, can your character do this? And these two girls sat in my lap. He went,
What?
no. He walked away. It was like one of those like kind of funny. Like it would have been in a movie stand-up kind of thing. It was misogynist as hell. I'm not gonna lie, but it was funny. It was just kind of those funny moments at the time. Here I am with my D&D stories. So that's how I got introduced to D&D. How about you guys?
I did not know about Dungeons and Dragons. I've heard the name, but my actual like introduction of what it was all about, and I'm not embarrassed to say, I think Stranger Things.
Okay, that's fair.
Like I seriously had no connection to the game before.
Right, that's fair. That's a lot of people. A lot of people got introduced to D&D through that, and I think that's one of the wonderful things about Stranger Things. I love Stranger Things, by the way. I can't wait for season 5. I'm all in on that. Matty, how about you?
A couple of like my old roommates used to play, and I would kind of just get drunk and watch them and like laugh at their characters and like the stories they were telling and
Yell
stuff.
nerds.
Yeah, be like, nerd alert. Well, I have Star Wars posters in my room.
You're kind of nerd. It's okay.
But yeah, again, like I've never played. I was talking to our friend Sean Sullivan a while ago about like maybe him helping me set up a character and like maybe playing a game someday. But
I think you'd enjoy it. I do.
From what I've heard, I would, but from what I've heard, it takes a lot of work.
It can be. Well, DMing is a lot of work more than the introducing the character and creating a character can take a while sometimes because you got to get into deep dives of your character and all the different powers and skills and all that stuff. That can take a while. But once you do that, the players just have fun. It's the DM that has a lot of the work to do, creating the story. And like I gotta tell you, I tried DMing once and I hated that because I couldn't do it well because like your players will never do what you want them to or what you think they're supposed to do. And like, you're kind of like, well, now I got to fucking like think on the fly and create a whole new aspect of the story that I had no idea. Like never go, you write this whole story and you don't use any of it because it's not, because they didn't do something right. You're like, fuck, I could do the whole thing over. But it's fun.
The only DMs I'm good at are the ones you can slide into.
Boom.
Yeah, that's what I was waiting for one of y'all to do that show. Yep. Another thing that we forgot to talk that I wanted to mention when it came to the story mission part is like I was thinking like the way when Etkin and Michelle Rodriguez like Holga were like fighting the bad guys or doing something that felt really hard to do. It was almost like they had rolled an imaginary dice and always
absolutely
had got the successful outcome.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking about it, like, are they gonna like mention it at some point, kind of connect to the game that, oh my God, this worked out or this failed.
Right.
But still, I don't know, it had that subtext to it.
Oh, if you played D&D like I did, I honestly when I watched this movie, I watched the rolling of the dice in my head. Like I was kind of like, okay, they're rolling for this now, they're rolling for this shit like that, and they did it. So they were successful because that's how the movie needed to go. But they failed a couple of times.
Is that like the moment where she was like talking to him about the axe and like the branding on the axe?
Oh, that's part of it. That's them rolling. Oh, yeah, that's her rolling for initiative there and trying to see if she can sneak out that. Yeah, absolutely, that's part of it. The other thing's about a roll. You have to roll. Like last time, you could roll to see if you intimidate someone. If you flirt with someone, you can roll to see if you're charismatic enough to see if you can, win somebody over. It's a lot of fun that way. Kind of do that roll. Of course, like the best part is when you roll a 1, then the DM gets to come up with a spectacular way you fail. Like if you're just trying to like climb a ladder and you roll a 1, you're like not only do you like miss the rung completely as you're going up the ladder, but you fall down, hit your hit your balls on the second rung. They come up with a very spectacular way you think. And then sometimes you could like slap somebody if you roll like a 20. It's like you slapped this guy so hard he flew across the room into a pile of like shit that and something like really heavy. It's just kind of it makes it for a fun session. But all right. Speaking of humor, then I got to lay in on my take on the humor, the better humor. I will say, quite frankly, the grave sequence from Dungeons and Dragons might be my favorite sequence of both movies. I think that was hilariously done. It was well made, and they just had the timing down perfectly. And you're like, oh my God, because you got like intention, like, don't, shut up, Chris, shut up, just shut up, stop it. With that being said, D had some great humor. I think Guardian of the Galaxy also had much more consistent and well done humor that kind of stayed throughout. I liked the tone better as far as the humor went. Dungeons and Dragons was more ridiculous humor, whereas Guardians had more like kind of almost commentating humor. Although I will say, speaking of ridiculous, so my favorite comedy from Guardians of the Galaxy is Rocket's dragging on everybody. Like when he's on the planet the first time, he's like, we're calling me criminals, and this guy walking around with a haircut like that, he's assaulting us with the hair like that. Come on. And this kid's walking, this kid, it's not cool to help. Learn to walk, you freaking gargoyle. He's like, the little kids. It's hilarious watching Rocket at work.
Bradley Cooper had the time of his fucking life playing Rocket.
In both movies.
Yeah, he is in both. He's in D&D as well. It's true. He actually is in D&D and in Guardians.
He is. That's right.
No, he's one of the he's the few crossover at that point. But that's what I'm saying. I'm giving it to GOTG as well, which means we do have a winner. We didn't give our snap judgment beforehand, but I won't ask you to do it now because we've been through it. It's not quite the same.
I think they're coming for you now
They are
because you
coming
didn't
for
do
me
this. You're going to need a public defender.
I might need a public defender to call back to anybody who used to watch Class Action back in the day. But who is our winner by a score? It's actually pretty firm winner by a score of 10 to 5. 10 to 5. It is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, fair.
And that's exactly kind of what I thought was going to be. Guardians of the Galaxy is the first in a trilogy of films in a franchise that's been beloved. Dungeons & Dragons is kind of the plucky young upstart, the underdog from the get-go, I think. Although the fact is that Dungeons & Dragons put up a good fight, considering everything that was against them comparatively. And I hope that's not the end of those characters. I hope we do get a sequel. I hope we do get more into that world because I think they have a lot of potential there to do really well. But that's next time. This time, Guardians of the Galaxy wins by TKO, almost.
You were talking about sequels. Guardians 3 wrapped up the story pretty well. Yep. And spoilers for Guardians 3 now, who hasn't seen it. Oh, wait. No, Matty hasn't seen it.
No, go for it. I don't care.
Are you sure?
Yeah, go for it.
The story wraps up, but at the end of the movie, a text comes on, Star-Lord will return.
Yeah.
So that could mean anything. They kind of marketed the movie as the final entry in the Guardians films. Now, my question to you is, would you rather have another Guardians or another Dungeons and Dragons? Because Guardians did wrap up, Dungeons just started.
Well, here's the thing you got to say. I mean, the other post-credit scene was the formation of the new Guardians at this point. Obviously, there's a new Guardians team, technically speaking, although...
But it said Star-Lord.
But I know I'm getting there. But so we have a Guardians team. We have a Star-Lord who's going to return, who's not with the Guardians anymore, which is kind of weird, interesting, in and of itself.
Probably in the next Thor, right?
Potentially, if there is a next Thor, we don't know what's going on. That's the whole thing. We're kind of in a crux now, and James Gunn isn't doing Guardians anymore. James Gunn.
No, he's not even Marvel.
He's DC now, so that's why I'd be more of a D&D guy because having Guardians without James Gunn, I don't like that idea at all. I don't like that idea at all.
I think I'm in the same boat. I think D&D has more opportunity to
expand,
grow, and thrive, whereas Guardians, I think, is going to come under a lot of scrutiny. The next one they go, I don't know who's in the next Guardians. I don't really care at this point.
I think there is going to be a next Guardians film. I think there's a team that's going to be there that might use in like the Avengers or something like that potentially. I could see them in the Avengers. I don't think Guardians is going to be a movie. I don't think. I could be wrong. That's
a good point, actually. That's how they could return Star-Lord and not continue the
that's what
Guardians
I was saying
franchise.
too.
Just bring it back in Secret Wars and the Kang Dynasty.
I think you might see I think you might see Star-Lord join the Avengers. And here's why. The reason why you do that, honestly, is because, quite frankly, I think Marvel's in a little bit of a panic state right now. A little bit minor panic in terms of there's kind of a divide. We have the old school Marvel, which is infallible according to everybody. It wasn't, by the way. It was not infallible. The new Marvel was not. But one of the criticisms there are now, we have none of those old stalwart guys left. There's no more Chris, no more Robert Downey Jr., no more. I mean, Thor is probably on the way out. Captain America's gone. Iron Man's gone. I mean, you have Hulk kind of, but like all these characters are gone. Who's left in the Avengers now? Who's our Avengers team? I mean, you got Spider-Man's probably the last one there. Anthony Mackie's not really an A-list kind of guy. I mean, even Sam is not an A-list kind of guy. You got Hulk still there, I guess, kind of thing.
But he can't be in a standalone movie. Hulk can only be contractually be in TV movies.
For now, that could actually change at some point. I feel like they try to do something. But anyway, Spider-Man similar is like they're not their character really, but he's one of the main standbys as well. So I think Chris Pratt is one of those guys that can kind of go, well, he's not quite Captain America, Iron Man, or anybody like that, but he does have that kind of like old school Marvel feel to him because he was in like 2014 Guardians of the Galaxy, 2014. So I can see that being a way. Let's put him on the Avengers as one of our old standbys kind of thing.
Also, I hate to bring it up, but they're gonna have to recast their main villain pretty soon.
Yes,
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
That's an interesting topic altogether.
So they're gonna have to clutch at straws to be like, okay, who can we bring in to curry as much favor with the fans as possible?
Ed Harris.
And it's such a shame because Majors, as an artist, as an actor, he jump started with Kang. And
you think Ed Harris could play Kang?
Oh, he could kick Kang. He'd be a great Kang. But he won't be. He's going to be in the Wonder Man TV series. So,
is he really?
Yeah, he is actually cast as the villain of the Wonder Man series.
Oh, I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting Harrison Ford in what, Secret Invasion?
Yeah, yeah, he's going to be the next one. He's in a bunch of them now, in Thunderbolts as well. That's the part Ed Harris actually should have played. I love Harrison Ford, but that's the part he was born to play.
How dare you, sir?
I love Harrison Ford. He's one of my favorite actors. But this role is much more Ed Harris than it is Harrison Ford.
Hey, Matty, let's do, when PLD is not here, let's do Ed Harris versus Harrison Ford.
What do you say? Do that, you son of a bitch.
We could call it. No, we could even call it Class Action: The Harris Dance.
Or you can't have a show called The Harris Dance. You can't actually use that title. I forbid that.
No. But we're on this channel. I mean, the IP belongs here.
I will strike you down. I will privatize that shit.
And I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
Well, because you walked into the wrong goddamn video chat room.
Maybe that's what's going to happen. We'll see. We'll have a conversation backstage, I'm sure. But that's it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for sticking around and hanging out with us for this week. We'll be back 2 weeks from now. Actually, we're going to have back-to-back class actions 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, and then a week after that, while I'm in California, these two will probably be doing Harris versus Harrison. God damn it.
That would be cool. That actually, like, all joking aside, I think it would be a cool matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, but I can't see how, honestly speaking, and this is going to sound bad, I can't see how you guys would ever pick Ed Harris over Harrison Ford in a lot of these things, because he's just much more of the A-list guy. That's Harrison Ford's rule. Ed Harris has never been the A-list guy. That's a different story. Different kind of things. I would honestly want to put Ed Harris up against somebody like somebody who's in that kind of
Henry Cavill
thing. No, Henry Cavill loses, but like a Bruce.
There was a period Harrison Ford made some choices.
Oh, that's true too. That's true. But what I was saying, actually, I'll also make I don't want to go too deep. We're leaving, but what I meant about the Thunderbolts roles, Harrison Ford is more of a good guy. I like Harrison Ford as a good guy. I don't like Harrison Ford as the bad guy. That's what Thunderbolt Ross really kind of is, kind of more of a bad guy, which is why I don't like that. So that's why Harris is the bad guy. That's okay. All right. That's in the future. We're talking about
what are we doing for the next episode? I believe
we're doing what Matty Kern suggested. Patron Matty Kern suggested wanted to do Escape from New York versus Mad Max.
Son of a...
Which Fury Road?
No, the original.
Oh, I haven't seen either of those. Well, I've seen Mad Max like ages ago, but I haven't seen Escape from New York.
Going to go from the originals against each other. The original big time apocalyptic movies.
Shocked you have not seen Escape from New York.
I have pretty surprising gaps.
It is a phenomenal movie. I knew he hadn't seen it, which is why I'm not so shocked.
Fucking great. Inspired the greatest video game character of all time in Solid Snake.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a great film. Both of them are great film. I mean, obviously, Jarvi got to go in knowing it's the 80s, so it's the early 80s, so it's definitely like of its time. But it's a phenomenal piece of work. I love it so much. John Carpenter.
So I'm sorry, Christo, and I'm just gonna call you out. He just DM'd me. Christo DM'd me. PLD's love for Ed Harris is ridiculous. He just wrote that to me.
He's the greatest character actor of all time.
We get it. He makes a bad movie good, a good movie great, and a terrible movie watchable.
Thank you.
I had to call you out on it.
That's all right. I don't care. That's all right. Anybody can say anything they want to say. I know the truth. All right. If you want to support the channel, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you want to support even further, patreon.com/PLD Projects. We're actually having an exclusive Patreon podcast where perhaps all four members of the squad, myself, PJ, Matty, and maybe Jarvi himself will be here as an exclusive Patreon podcast. We'll talk about a lot of stuff, a lot of cool stuff coming up, and news of the day, stuff we don't get to talk about on our more specified shows where we talk about specific movies and things of that nature. We'll go on some rants, I'm sure. Maybe we'll even continue the Harris versus Harrison there. Who knows? But join the patrons like Austin Cadell, Jeremiah Morris, Matty Kearns, Let's see who else we got here. Manny Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Alterman, John Lestrina. Couldn't do it all without you and others. We love you guys so much. We appreciate you guys so much. Really help keep the lights on. But that's then. This is now. We love you guys. Stay tuned. Like I said, tomorrow, Holy Snokes, Kevin Kiner. The week after, next Tuesday, we got 2 Meter for White Dudes on film on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And yeah, Seaside Rendezvous and Crown Jewels Queen this week. Fun broadcast that was. I think that's it for now. The Harris Dance is coming. I recorded a bit of the first episode of Harris Dance last night. So we should be ready to go in the near future, next month or two, where I figure all this video stuff out.
Always in motion, the future.
Always in motion, exactly. That's it, though. We will see you next week. And until next time, of course, justice is served. And what is the other thing I say?
Come on.
Justice is served and always stay mediocre. No, that's the other one. The force will be with you always. Now keep yourself alive.
Matty,
What is
do it.
adjourned?
That's it. Court is adjourned. I knew I would have gotten there eventually. I just said everything else first. I would have gotten there eventually. Court is adjourned.